I'm David Miller, 22, and engineering graduate from State University. What I'm about to share isn't just another family drama. It's the moment I finally understood what real support means, and it came from an unexpected direction. Let me give you some context about my family. I have an older sister, Rebecca Miller, 24. She's always been our parents' golden child. While I was working through engineering school with loans and part-time jobs, she was enjoying her music major at a private university, though she never quite made it to graduation. Rebecca had joined some college band in her sophomore year. I remember Mom and Dad being thrilled about it, telling everyone how their daughter was pursuing her passion. But anyone who'd heard her sing could tell you she was mediocre at best. The rest of her bandmates? They actually had talent. I never understood why they kept her around. Then came the decision that would change everything. About 8 months before she was supposed to graduate, Rebecca announced she was dropping out to pursue music full-time. Instead of talking sense into her, our parents, John and Sarah Miller, actually encouraged her. I watched in disbelief as they supported her, throwing away a degree she was so close to finishing, all for what they called her one true calling. What happened next was painfully predictable. Within 6 months, her band found a better vocalist, someone who could actually write their own lyrics and hold a tune. Rebecca moved back home, crushed and without a plan. She tried starting her own band, but surprise, no one was interested in joining forces with an amateur who'd dropped out of college on a whim. Time shift present day. Now she's been living at our parents' house for months, completely unemployed. Mom and Dad treat her like she's recovering from some terrible tragedy, when all she's dealing with are the consequences of her own choices. Every time I visit, she's either lounging around the house or out drinking with friends. The worst part: our parents are perfectly fine with this arrangement, supporting her entirely while she heals from her traumatic experience. But here's what really gets to me: the double standard. When I graduated high school, Mom and Dad made it crystal clear that I was on my own for college expenses. I accepted it because I thought that was just how they operated. I watched them tell Rebecca the same thing, or so I thought. I took out student loans, worked part-time jobs, and made it work. The difference in treatment became impossible to ignore when Rebecca moved back home. While I was juggling studies, work, and loans, she got a free ride, rent, food, everything. When I tried talking to them about this obvious favoritism, they'd twist my words, make me feel guilty for even bringing it up. It's been a cycle of manipulation that's been incredibly hard to break free from. Little did I know, things were about to get even more complicated, and a graduation ceremony would be the catalyst for everything changing. 1 week before graduation. Last week changed everything. I was in my apartment near campus, reviewing my graduation schedule when I decided to make the call. The ceremony was just a couple of hours' drive from our suburban home, an easy day trip for any parent who cared to attend. Mom, Dad, about the graduation ceremony next Friday. I started the WhatsApp video call, trying to keep my voice steady. Their excuses started immediately. "Oh, honey, work is really busy right now," Mom sighed, not quite meeting my eyes through the screen. Something felt off. Dad was fidgeting with his collar, a telltale sign he was hiding something. I pressed further, and that's when the truth came out. "David, sweetie," Mom's voice took on that sickly sweet tone she uses when she's about to say something awful. "We're actually planning a surprise party for Rebecca that day. It would have been her graduation day, you know, if things had worked out differently." I stared at my phone screen, momentarily speechless. "You're throwing a party for Rebecca on my graduation day?" "She's been so down lately," Dad chimed in. "We thought it might cheer her up." "Can't you reschedule it?" I asked, already knowing the answer. "I mean, this is my actual graduation." "David, try to understand," Mom pleaded. "Rebecca needs this right now." She's in such a fragile state. That's when something inside me snapped. Years of bottled up frustration came pouring out. Fragile state. She chose to drop out. Meanwhile, I've worked my ass off, maintained top grades, secured a job offer, and you're skipping my graduation for a pity party? Now you're just being selfish. Dad's voice turned sharp. It's just a ceremony. Rebecca needs. Rebecca needs to grow up, I interrupted. And you both need to realize what you're doing. You're not helping her by coddling her. And you're definitely not helping our family by constantly pushing me aside for her. Mom started tearing up, her go-to move when she's losing an argument. We've always supported both of you equally. That's a lie, and you know it, I said, my voice eerily calm. But you know what? I'm done. I'm done competing for your attention. I'm done trying to understand your twisted logic. If you can't be there for my graduation, then don't bother being there for anything else. I ended the call before they could respond, my hands shaking. Then I did something I should have done years ago. I called my grandparents, Robert and Mary Miller. Later that evening, phone call with grandparents. Grandpa, Grandma. My voice cracked as soon as I heard their familiar, comforting voices on the speakerphone. I was sitting in my dimly lit apartment, still processing the earlier conversation with my parents. David? What's wrong, sweetheart? Grandma Mary's concern was immediate and genuine. I told them everything about the graduation, the party for Rebecca, and how our parents had dismissed my achievements yet again. As I spoke, the emotions I'd been holding back surfaced, and to my embarrassment, I started crying. I'm sorry. I tried to compose myself. I thought they'd at least show up for this. Don't you dare apologize. Grandpa Robert's voice was firm but gentle. You have nothing to be sorry for. We're the ones who should be apologizing. What? Why? I was confused. Because we've been enabling this situation without realizing it, Grandma explained. We've been sending money to your parents every month to help support Rebecca, thinking she was actively looking for work or trying to get back on her feet. She isn't, I said quietly. Every time I visit, she's either watching Netflix or out with friends. She hasn't sent out a single job application. There was a long pause on the other end of the line. When Grandpa spoke again, his voice had that tone he usually reserved for serious business matters. Well, that ends now, he declared. We'll be at your graduation, David. And we're going to make some changes regarding where our support goes. What do you mean? Don't worry about that right now, Grandma interjected. Just focus on your graduation. We're so proud of you, and we wouldn't miss it for the world. I could tell from their voices that they were planning something, but at that moment, just knowing they would be there meant everything to me. Late night, parents' house. What I didn't know then was that my grandparents drove straight to my parents' house that night. I only found out about it when my phone started buzzing around 1 a.m. with an incoming call from Dad. 1 a.m. Phone call from Dad. You ungrateful drama queen. Dad's voice exploded through my phone, jolting me awake. What lies have you been telling your grandparents? I sat up in bed, my mind still foggy. What are you talking about? Don't play innocent with me, he was practically shouting. Your grandparents just stormed into our house like they owned the place, calling us leeches, and Rebecca, a brainless, lazy cow. Is this how you solve your problems? Running to them with sob stories? As my mind cleared, I started piecing things together. Wait, they came to the house. When? Oh, drop the act. Dad's voice dripped with sarcasm. They showed up here tonight, completely out of control. And now they're cutting us off. No more monthly support. Are you happy now? That's when the truth hit me. My grandparents had been financially supporting Rebecca this whole time. Not my parents. I didn't know they were sending you money, I said honestly. Well, they're not anymore, thanks to you. And you know what else? They're planning to send that money to you instead. Is that what you wanted all along? My stomach twisted. Dad, I swear I didn't. He cut me off. Fix this, David. Call them right now and fix it. Rebecca isn't emotionally ready to work yet, and you know it. We need that support. Not emotionally ready? I repeated incredulously. Dad, she's been sitting at home for almost a year. She's healing, he snapped. Unlike you, she's been through real trauma. Those band members used her, and I ended the call. My hands were shaking, but not from fear this time. I immediately dialed my grandparents, needing to understand what had happened. Late night conversation with grandparents. Did you really go to their house? I asked as soon as they answered. We did. Grandpa Robert's voice was calm but firm. And it's about time we did. David, we've been sending them $2,000 every month to help Rebecca get back on her feet. They told us she was actively job hunting, going to therapy, taking online courses. But she's not, I finished. No, she's not, Grandma Mary chimed in. And that stops now. We've decided that money should go to someone who actually deserves it, you. My throat tightened. I don't need. This isn't charity, David, Grandpa interrupted. You've worked hard. You've shown responsibility. You've earned this. Whether you use it to pay off your student loans faster or save for your future, that's your choice. But we want to support the right person. I don't know what to say. I sat down on my bed, overwhelmed. Say you'll accept it, Grandma said softly. Let us do this for you. I thought about it. I had already lined up a job after graduation, had plans to start paying off my loans. But having this additional support could help me build a solid foundation for my future. Okay, I finally said. Thank you. Both of you. Next morning, when I woke up, my phone was flooded with messages. Mom, Dad, and Rebecca had been texting and calling all night. The messages all carried the same theme. I needed to fix this situation because they needed the money more than I did. Rebecca's messages were particularly dramatic. I'm not emotionally strong enough to work right now. I'm trying to heal and work on myself for a better future. Why are you being so selfish and materialistic? You have no idea what I've been through. I looked at all their messages, took a deep breath, and did something I should have done long ago. I blocked all their numbers. First update. A few days later. I want to thank everyone for their advice and support. I've kept my family blocked, and I haven't considered apologizing. Reading everyone's comments and talking to my friends has reinforced that I'm doing the right thing. You know, I've always been the type who finds it hard to stay angry at people. I usually cave in thinking they're family, or they must mean well. But there's a difference between holding grudges and standing up for yourself. That's something I'm finally learning. Family always has your back. That's what we're all taught to believe, right? I bought into that for years, always crawling back after our fights, no matter how valid my complaints were. But now I see their love comes with conditions, and I'm done playing by their rules. Graduation day. Then something unexpected happened. My parents showed up at my graduation. Funny how they couldn't make it when I wanted them there. But now that money was involved, they suddenly found the time. They didn't have passes to get in, and I made it clear I'd only speak to them after the ceremony. Hotel restaurant, post-graduation. We met at a nearby hotel for lunch. My grandparents insisted on being there. Right off the bat, I said, I don't want any drama today. I'm in a good mood, and I'd like to keep it that way. But of course, they couldn't help themselves. They launched into apologies about how sorry they were, how they treated me unfairly. They mentioned that Rebecca couldn't come because she had a job interview. Apparently, my grandparents' ultimatum had motivated her to actually start applying for positions. We want a chance to fix this, Mom pleaded. tears already forming. We realize we've been terrible parents to both of you. Before my grandparents could speak, I cut in. I appreciate that you feel sorry, but your timing makes it hard to believe. It took Grandpa and Grandma cutting off your money to make you see the problem? That doesn't sit right with me. Continued at the hotel. But we're your parents. Mom's voice cracked, the tears now flowing freely. As your parents, we've always forgiven your mistakes. Shouldn't you do the same? I couldn't help but laugh. Are you seriously comparing the mistakes I made as a child to your conscious decisions as adults? That's ridiculous. David, please. Dad tried to sound reasonable. We know we messed up. We're trying here. The bottom line is this, I said, keeping my voice steady. If you're really sorry, you'll give me the space I need. If you can't do that, then I'll know this is just about getting back in Grandpa and Grandma's good graces and their wallet. Mom's tears intensified, her classic move when things aren't going her way. We were in public, and people were starting to stare. Mom, please stop, I said firmly. If you continue making a scene, I'm leaving. She kept going for a few minutes, throwing around phrases like, these years were real, and you're being heartless. But I didn't budge. When I started to stand up, she finally stopped. Later that week, social media drama. That should have been the end of it, but Rebecca decided to take things to social media. I'd blocked their numbers, but forgotten about Facebook and Instagram. Yesterday afternoon, she posted a long rant about what an ungrateful brat I was, how ashamed she was to be related to me, and threatened to cut ties with anyone who stayed in contact with me. It was bizarre reading her post. Our parents had done the bare minimum for me while giving her everything, yet she was painting them as infallible heroes. I tried commenting with my side of the story, but she deleted it. So I made my own post, telling the truth about everything. Third day of social media war. Then something unexpected happened. Rebecca made another post defending our parents, claiming they had treated us exactly the same, and that I was just playing victim for our grandparents' sympathy. She mentioned having to take out student loans just like me, and blamed her awful former bandmates for ruining her dreams. That's when one of her old bandmates decided to set the record straight. The truth revealed. The bandmates' response changed everything. In a detailed comment on Rebecca's post, they explained that she had only ever been a temporary replacement for their original vocalist, who had moved to Australia. They had repeatedly warned her about dropping out, telling her clearly that she was just filling in until they found someone more suitable. We always told you this was temporary, the comment read. You weren't even that good, Rebecca, and we tried to tell you that kindly. But you refused to listen. Dropping out was your choice, a choice we specifically advised against. But the real bombshell came next. The bandmate called out Rebecca's biggest lie. And what student loans are you talking about? You constantly bragged about how your parents paid for everything, while the rest of us worked part-time jobs between gigs to pay off our debts. Aftermath. Within minutes, Rebecca deleted all her posts, trying to erase the evidence. But it was too late. The truth was out. Everything I'd suspected about my parents' favoritism was confirmed, and worse. They hadn't just supported her more. They'd actively lied about it. My grandparents were furious when they saw the screenshots I sent them. They're now completely cutting ties with my parents and Rebecca, just as I have. The hurt and anger I feel are intense, but honestly, this is exactly what I'd expect from my family. Epilogue. You know what's funny? I always thought having a perfect family was important. Now I realize having the right people in your corner matters more than having a lot of people there. My grandparents have shown me what real family support looks like: honest, unconditional, and without manipulation. I'm moving forward with my engineering career, focusing on building my own life. My grandparents are the only family I need, and I'm at peace with that. Sometimes the family you choose or the ones who choose you matter more than the ones you're born into.